Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and we are talking every single Big Ten team here on the Big Ten Huddle. Last episode, we talked about the teams that are facing G5 FCS teams in the Big Ten. Now we're going to preview those 5 Big Ten teams that are facing Power 4 or higher opponents. We're talking Oregon, we're talking Michigan State, Iowa, Illinois, and of course the Michigan Wolverines with their big game against Oklahoma this weekend. Gonna have a lot of fun. We have our guy with us who just loves freshman quarterbacks at this point. I think he's gonna start the Bryce Underwood fan club at some point. It's Zach Guggenheim.
There will be no such fan club in my existence.
Wow.
None. Not for someone from the team up north. Sorry. Oh, this is the Big Ten show. I'm sorry. We like Bryce Underwood. Okay.
All right. Zach is playing his cards close to his vest here. So we're going to get into it. We have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I think, honestly, we're going to start with this Oregon game because there's honestly some really interesting stuff to talk about. I don't know if there's as much to break down with the game. I think Oregon's a pretty clear favorite to win this one. There's some off-the-field stuff that's going to be fun to talk about.
You're just starting with this one because Darth Ducky is, hitting the emojis in the chat.
Well, yeah, you hit the emojis and you share the stream, and you get what you want. That's those are the rules here at the Big Ten Huddle.
There you go.
So, oh boy. All right.
So what did Mike Gundy say this time?
I was gonna say I need to pull that up really fast, but essentially Mike Gundy basically went on. I don't know. Mike Gundy's so weird. Essentially, well, here let me pull up the graphic so we can clip this if we want.
Oh dear.
All right, so Mike Gundy had some words to say, as Mike Gundy does. He always has some words. He's a man. He's 40. That's been in the past, but Mike Gundy has had some words to talk about. He said, he basically said, I'm trying to pull up the exact quote here, but he basically said, Oregon should be playing other teams that spend on their level, trying to downplay his own team because they don't spend as much money, and then also take a shot at Oregon because apparently they spend too much money in college football. I get when fans say this, Zach. I get when fans talk about this and they want to turn this into a thing because it's common stuff that fans try to poke each other about. I get that. But for another head coach to come up and start talking about another team's wallet and we shouldn't be playing that, then why are they on your schedule, Mike Gundy? Why are they on your schedule? What in the world are you thinking putting this team on your schedule? Why are you talking about another team's pocketbook in your press conference? It's ridiculous. It's crazy. I mean, respect for Mike Gundy. He's done a wonderful job at Oklahoma State. He's been a really good head coach. But this is just one of those things where it's this isn't funny to say. This is just disrespectful. And I hope Dan Lanning goes into this, or Oklahoma State comes to Oregon. And I hope Oregon wins 63-0 because this is disrespectful.
I might change my score because of this. I have 38-3. I think it might be 76-3. Because listen, what does Dan Lanning do to outspoken coaches who try to overhype themselves? Murder, death, kill. That's what he does. Remember Prime?
Yep.
Remember? And I didn't even like the pregame promo that Dan Lanning gave because it was very self-referential. It was we're going to be substance instead of flash. And it's dude, you're doing the same thing that Prime is doing, but he got his guys amped and they murdered them. And I think that might happen here because spoiler alert, Oklahoma State stinks. They're terrible. They might go over in the Big 12.
Listen, Montana State had the same spread as Oklahoma State in your story. If that tells you anything about the state of the Oklahoma State program, I mean, all right. So I got a few different quotes here. He said a number of things. He said Oklahoma State spent around $7 million over the last 3 years. He said, "quote I think Oregon spent close to $40 million last year alone. So that was just 1 year. Now I might be off by a few million."
I don't care. Sorry, I'm not saying I don't care what you're saying. Mike Gundy, we don't care.
Yeah. He also said that they are, quote, we're considering covering up our Nike logos with duct tape on Saturday. I'm not just interested in that pay to win stuff they got going on over there. So why would I support it?
Listen, if I'm the Oklahoma State AD, I'm firing Mike Gundy on the spot. Like,
I mean,
this
I'm
is
not firing him, but
this is loser, like this is loser mentality. Like, what, like, oh, poor old us. Like, come on.
yeah, it definitely makes you look really weak. That's for sure.
Like, and I can, if someone wants to give the argument, like, well, this is to fire up his team for feeling underlooked, that's fine. Except they went 2-10 a year ago, and they're not tracking to look any better this year. Like, it's just stupid. Just get him out of here.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous. He also said, because it doesn't end there, Zach. I thought, maybe you thought it did. He said, quote, what I hear chatter from coaches from around the country is that non-conference scheduling, I never thought anybody would ever say this, should be based on financial situation for each school. He goes on to say, from a non-conference standpoint, there are coaches saying Oregon should play teams they are spending the same amount of money on. End quote. Does Oklahoma State have the similar funding to whatever team they played? What was it, like San Antonio or something like that? UT Martin. They played UT Martin and they only won 27-7. Is he suggesting that Oklahoma State has similar NIL money to UT Martin?
I'm just looking at their schedule right now because this is laughable. This is laughable. They play Tulsa. They play, let's see, who else do they play? They played UT Martin. Neither of those teams have the budget that Oklahoma State does. You can make the argument that Kansas does not have the money that Oklahoma State does.
Well, I mean, if Oklahoma State has money, I mean, he just said they spent $7 million combined the last 3 years. That's not a lot.
No, it's not. But again, I'm like, first of all, like, get with the times. Like,
no, but he's a Dabo. He doesn't want to get with the times. He just wants everything to be his way and do this. I mean, I got respect for what Mike Gundy has done in the past, but I don't have much respect for coaches that are just like, well, I'm going to stay in college football, but I'm not going to change with it at all. At least Nick Saban left, right? When Nick Saban didn't like it, at least he left. He retired.
Yeah.
You know?
Mike Gundy, I know I just said that he should be fired. Let's be clear. He has been a really good coach for a long time. I get that. And like just 2 years ago, they were ranked 16th in the country. So like 2 years ago was really great. They went 3-9, not 2-10. I was wrong last year. And now they're facing Oregon this year. And it's just, I can understand not liking the way college football went. And that's fine. And if you want to stick to your guns, that's fine. Like I have respect for people who want to stick with their guns and they don't like the way college football has gone. But goodness, man, the worst thing you can do is get up in a press conference and like rip apart a team who is spending because it's legal now. Mm-hmm. I hope Dan Lanning beats him by 70.
Yeah. Here's what Dan Lanning said, which honestly, like even if you're a USC fan or you're a fan of some team that doesn't like Oregon, you have to have respect for the way Dan Lanning handled this. Here's what Dan Lanning said.
There is listening to him talk. Like I said, I got a ton of respect for Coach Gundy. Ultimately, how blessed are we to be in a place that's invested in winning? If you want to be a top 10 team in college football, you better be invested in winning. And we spend to win. Some people save to have an excuse for why they don't, right? And ultimately, like, he's a great coach. They've done an unbelievable job, but I want to be a team that's competing at the highest level. And we're really fortunate to be in that situation. So I can't speak on their situation. I have no idea, what's what they got in their pockets over there. I'm sure UT Martin maybe didn't have as much as them last week, and they played. So we'll let it play out.
Some teams save so they have an excuse for when they don't win. I mean, well line.
What a boss quote. What a boss quote.
I mean, he handled it really, really well. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about this game now, but I had to get that off my chest. Like it's so ridiculous what Mike Gundy said, and that he kept saying it too. Like he never came back and was like, "Hey, I shouldn't have, maybe I shouldn't be pocket watching or something like that." No, he just continued to go on and on about it. So anyway, I hope Oregon destroys Oklahoma State, and I have Oregon winning this one, 42-0. I don't think they let Oklahoma State score. I think Dan Lanning gets his guys out there and they go crazy. I mean, maybe they get a field goal or something like that, but this is similar to other coaches' situations. I don't know if we'll get a video of Dan Lanning talking to the team like we've gotten before, but I think Dan Lanning's gonna, make sure Mike Gundy keeps his mouth shut next time.
Yep. Yeah. I have 38-3. I think it could easily get much uglier than that. Oklahoma State can't run the ball.
They can't do much.
No, I mean their main running back averaged less than 3 yards a carry against UT Martin. You think they're going to be able to run the ball on the Ducks? It's over. Like it's murder, death, kill. Oregon.
Yeah, I mean they did like pass the ball a little bit. They had what was his name? Flores put up 136 passing yards, and Hengy put up 96 passing yards, and they had a passing touchdown. So they did get close to 250 together, but I mean it was like 18 of 30 against UT Martin. This is not an Oklahoma State team that should present any kind of issue for Oregon, especially with the motivation that they've got now. Wendell, what's his name? I had it written down here. Wendell Gregory did have 3 sacks last week against UT Martin, but once again, it's UT Martin, and one of the biggest strengths of this Oregon team is the offensive line. It's one of the reasons why Dante Moore will have a good season this year, not just because of Dante Moore and his talent, but also the pass protection that he's going to get.
Yeah.
Granted, it was Montana State, but he was pressured 1 time last week. He dropped back to pass over 20 times, and he was pressured 1 time. This offensive line is legit. This offensive line is for real, and this offensive line could possibly be another Joe Moore Award finalist because that's just what Alik Terry does, because he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the nation. He's great at finding talent. He's great at coaching these guys up, and he's great with his chemistry as well. This Oregon team is legit. They're going to be very good this year. I do have one question, Zach, but I'm curious if you have any more thoughts.
I said the only way that they beat Oregon is if Oregon somehow becomes a mid-tier SEC team, because they beat Arkansas last year.
Yeah. It's just so crazy that they beat Arkansas, but it is crazy.
But they're really good because they're in the SEC. Sorry, what was that? What were you going to say?
No, they're not good. They're not good. What's worse, losing to Oklahoma State or losing to Tulane?
I mean, I think it's losing.
I think it's losing to Oklahoma State. They are never making the playoffs.
Yeah, no.
At least not under Gundy.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So, the only other thing I'll bring up is Mekhi Hughes didn't get a single carry in that game until like a minute left in the first half. I've kind of read some different stuff, and nobody really seems to have an answer on it. I even went to like message boards and saw if there was like any type of insiders. I don't know if maybe there's an Oregon fan out there that wants to inform us on something that was said that maybe I missed, but I don't know what's going on with Mekhi Hughes. He's still probably the second back. I went and looked at the snaps on PFF, and he had the second most snaps of any running back. He just didn't run the ball all that much and didn't get a single carry until later in that first half. So I don't know if they're trying to teach him something. I don't know if they just think Noah Whittington is that much better, which I'm very high on Noah Whittington as well. So I'm not, disparaging him at all. But it really seemed like Mekhi Hughes was going to come into this backfield and be the number 1 guy right away, and Whittington would kind of support him in that role. But now it looks like Whittington's the guy, and Hughes is going to be more supportive of him. I don't know what's going to happen. It's interesting. Do you have any thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, I wonder if part of it is easing him in still to the playbook. Maybe Whittington knows it better, but I don't have a ton of thoughts on it.
I mean, the freshman Jordan Davison, I believe, had more carries than him.
Yeah. Somebody better ask Lanning.
I mean, if he had came in and maybe wasn't doing things good, I'm not trying to disparage him or anything here, but if he wasn't doing things the right way, or maybe he was late to meetings or something like that, I mean, more power to Dan Lanning. But yeah, Mekhi Hughes had 1 carry for 2 yards in this game. Jordan Davison had the second most carries on the team. He had 6 carries and 3 touchdowns. So
that is surprising.
yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I thought you'd get more out of Mekhi Hughes, but Oregon doing their thing. So we'll see what happens in this game. All right, Zach, let's get to the next one. Boston College at Michigan State. This is going to be probably one of the more interesting games of the weekend. 2 pretty evenly matched teams. I do think that this is a team that has strength against strength, weakness against weakness, kind of, and a few different, weakness against strength, strength against weakness for kind of both sides. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. In these type of situations, I generally lean with the better coach, but I'll be honest, I don't know who's the better coach here. And Bill O'Brien and Jonathan Smith both have done pretty good things in their time in college football. Bill O'Brien, of course, did a pretty good job with Penn State. I know Penn State fans are not in love with Bill O'Brien, and I get that. And then Jonathan Smith obviously did what he did at Oregon State, but neither has really had great success at where they've been for 1 year now. And Boston College got the win last year, but it's at Michigan State this year. So we'll see what happens. Zach, you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's going to be pretty close. Boston College threw for 450 yards last week.
Yeah, they threw for a lot.
And I know Michigan State played well defensively last week against Western Michigan. I am very concerned about Michigan State secondary holding up. And I know that they've tried to retool it, but I feel like the Achilles heel of this defense for the past several years has been the defensive backfield. And so I think that's the matchup to watch for me is Boston College's quarterback and receivers against these defensive backs for the Spartans. I think if Michigan State can get a couple turnovers and play opportunistic defense, I think they win this game. I would really hate it to be a total shootout because as much as I think Aidan Chiles has grown, I still don't know if I trust him enough to win a game for them. Sorry, guys. I don't know if I trust him to win a ball game for them outright.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of this is going to hinge on Aidan Chiles and his ability to not turn the ball over. They played better in the first half last game, but they kind of didn't play as well in the second half. But the defense obviously kept them in that, or kept them ahead in that. I shouldn't say in that. Kept them ahead in that. They did not do a great job on the offensive line of pass protecting in the last game. They had Gavin Brocius. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. He had to come in and start for Luka Vincic, and I hope Luka Vincic is back. They said that they are optimistic he and Nakai Martinez will be back in this one, but Brocius and Armarion Smith, I'm trying to say those correctly, they were both 2 of the worst players on the field this game. So they desperately need Vincic back and Nakai Martinez to both come back in this one if they want to compete well with Boston College here. Because if with these 2 guys in, I don't. Based off what we saw last week, maybe they improve, but based off what we saw last week, I don't think they have a really good shot at winning this one. I mean, Amarian Smith, he struggled majorly. He had 1 tackle in 41 snaps at safety, and he allowed 47 yards through the air and 2 receptions. Just not a great day for him. Nakai Martinez needs to be back as soon as possible.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Mekhi Frazier is another one for Michigan State. He did well against Western Michigan, 103 yards and 1 touchdown. Ran the ball well. This is going to be a major piece for this Michigan State team if they can get some type of running game together for Aidan Chiles, especially against this Boston College team who did a really good job of stopping the run in their game. Now, it was against Fordham, so, take it for what it's worth. However, still, that was one area where it felt like they did a good job but they did not do a very good job of running the ball. Their highest yards per carry running back was 3.5. So they did not look good running the ball. They did not look good getting blocks, and MSU's run defense looked good against Western Michigan. So, again, that's one area, strength on weakness. Boston College does have a pretty good pass rush. Strength for Boston College on Michigan State's weakness there. But if Michigan State wants to win this game, they're going to have to get some really good effort from the running backs, from Aidan, Chiles, and like I said, those two guys that were injured need to come back this game.
Yeah. I was trying to look up the pass rush numbers for Michigan State. Because that's the other thing is that can Michigan State get pressure on Boston College? Because if they can create havoc, again, create turnovers, but also just negative plays, it keeps them from being able to be explosive. And so I'm just looking at the box score right now.
Yeah, I mean they got pressure. They only had 1 or 2 sacks, I think it was.
They had 4.
Correctly.
They had 4
sacks.
sacks.
Okay.
4 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. Jordan Hall was a dude. Malik Spencer got a sack. Jalen Thompson got a sack. LaFelle got a sack. And then Jordan Hall was just kind of a monster. 2.5 tackles for loss in that game.
Wayne Matthews Jr., or Wayne Matthews is third, I apologize. He looked really good in that game as well. He had high expectations for him last year, didn't really live up to them, but if he can put it all together like he was, I mean, he could look really good. And Grady Kelly, he graded out on PFF with 90-plus pass rushing grades. So
yeah,
that's the interior guy for Michigan State. On the
to me, like I know I talked about the back four, but I wonder, and I think this is probably where I lean in this game, is I think Michigan State's front 6, they play mostly they play nickel. I think if their defensive line and their linebackers can control this game, I think that's where this game is won. Because I think if they can keep Boston College off schedule and having to make big plays, I think Boston College is going to score. I think Michigan State's going to score. But I think Michigan State is going to make enough stops with Jalen Thompson and Grady Kelly, Wayne Matthews, and Jordan Hall at the linebacker spots. I mean, you look at those 6 players, they're all juniors and seniors. They've got talent up there. I think that's where this game's won. Should I give my score prediction?
Yeah.
Here. I have Boston College covering, but Michigan State winning 28-27.
Close one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Michigan State winning this one 27-20. I think right now they said they're optimistic that Martinez and Gavin could both come back for this game. And I think if you get both of these guys back, I feel a lot better. So I have the over, and I have Michigan State covering in this one. We'll see what happens. Yep. I was listening to a couple of different guys on this one today, and they seem to think that Boston College has the advantage here. And if they're able to throw the ball like they did last game, it sure seems like it, but it's just so hard to grade Boston College off playing Fordham. But I'm not super confident in their running game, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hey, if you're listening on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. Tell a friend about the show. We appreciate you doing that. If you're listening on podcast, give us a 5-star rating. Review helps us out as well. All right. Zach, let's get to Iowa at Iowa State. This game hits the under a lot. The spread here is 2.5 in favor of Iowa State, and then the over-under here is at 41.5. I think this is a game where we could see them hit the over. I know you don't have them on the over here, but I think this is a game where there's a possibility that could happen. They hit the under a lot in this one. A lot of defensive battles between Iowa and Iowa State in the past, but I mean, if Mark Gronowski comes out and plays better than he did, and I think he has that in him, I'm not writing Mark Gronowski off. I did not give him a great grade for last game, but I do think he has it in him. I think that some of those balls just kind of flew off his hand, incorrectly. A little bit of rust. Didn't play in the spring, so just trying to get back in there a little bit more. But I think that between Rocco Beck, Mark Gronowski, new Iowa offense under Tim Lester, his second year in the program, might go for the over here. What do you think, Zach?
I think this game is actually really hard to figure out because like Iowa State just demolished South Dakota, who in general I think has been a pretty good FCS team. I still am on the lookout for Iowa State Ireland hangover because that does take time to get that out of your system. And I know it's been 2 weeks, but that jet lag stays with you for a while and it messes up all your routines. So I think that's something I'm on the lookout for. I'm on the lookout for Iowa. Like, how real was their running game against Albany last week? How real is their defense? I think we both think they're very real. And then what is the progression from week 1 to week 2 with Mark Gronowski? Because week 1 was not good. And I think to beat Iowa State, you need a passing game. That was not a passing game last week. That was abysmal is what it was. But I there's a lot of external factors where I have concerns about both teams. I feel like Iowa State is probably a little too pass reliant. You look at their running numbers, they're not great. And it's not like they've played great. Like they played Kansas State, but they also played South Dakota. So like I would expect more out of the running game from Iowa State. Meanwhile, like Iowa was great on the ground. They ran the ball at will again against an overmatched opponent. But my question is, can that running game actually help open up the passing game? Didn't last week. So I just have a lot of questions. I am very averse to saying this hits the over. I think it's more likely to hit the under.
I think that even if Iowa doesn't get their passing game going, I think that there's still a good shot they get their running game going enough. And I think this is a game where you could see Iowa run for 300 plus yards between the running backs and Mark Gronowski and everything else. Like, this is a game where I would not be surprised if Mark Gronowski throws for 50, 75 yards, but he runs for over 100 and the rest of the Iowa running backs just kind of go off and maybe they don't go over 300, but they get around that, and you see Iowa putting up a few more points in this one. I do have some good hope for Iowa with Mark Gronowski. He was kind of out of the pocket a lot against Albany. Last time he was kind of leaving a little bit early. Hopefully they get that fixed up because this Iowa State pass rush, it's not been great. So at least it wasn't great against Kansas State. So I apologize. Iowa State could not handle the pass rush of Kansas State. That's what I was trying to get at. Mm-hmm. And you have Max Llewellyn and everything else with him trying to come in. He's one of the best pass rushers in the Big Ten. He's the best pass rusher on this Iowa team. But I do remain with the Mark Gronowski take that I could see him running a lot in this game. And I think Tim Lester is a smart enough OC that if things just aren't going for him, then they're just going to get to running the ball right away and try to keep this game close and try to make plays that way. And Iowa gets a lot of pop from their running game. I mean, with the run blocking they have up front, they really train those guys well. They have a lot of good wide receivers blocking. I know Reese Vanderzee was a really good wide receiver blocker, so that's going to be hard. But I think this is just something that's in the DNA of this Iowa team. Really, really good run blocking, both up front, both on the outside with the wide receivers, and I think their tight ends do a good job of it as well. So I think this Iowa team could kind of lull the other team to sleep, 2 yard, 3 yard, 1 yard, and then boom, hit you with a 57, 50, 60 plus yard rush that really goes for 6, and that could kind of be what propels them in the over a little bit.
One thing to note, the road team has won, I believe, the past 6 meetings.
Wow.
Between these two teams. Iowa is the road team.
We'll see.
Yep.
They're not favored. I don't know. I don't have
favored.
the stats on who is favored. win this one. But I mean, Iowa almost won with Cade McNamara last year. So if Mark Gronowski can just be better than Cade McNamara, they got a good shot.
Okay, but we can't say that. He had 44 passing yards last week.
I know, but he's still better than Cade McNamara.
I don't know. I do think I'm going to change my pick. I feel like I've been persuaded. So I had 17-14 Iowa State. I think I am very compelled though by your point about the running game. And I do think Iowa's defensive line is better than anything Iowa State's faced. Give me 21-17 Iowa. I've changed my pick.
Okay, that still hits the under. So you're still
Yeah.
on the under. Yeah, I got Iowa winning this one 27-21, 27-20, somewhere in that range. Iowa State either scores 3 touchdowns or 2 field goals and 2 touchdowns, something like that. But I think this is one where Iowa State, yes, they're favored. I think this is such a neutral game, though. I know Iowa State's at home, but like you pointed out, the road team in this one has been winning so much lately. Maybe that continues, but yeah, I like Iowa in this one. I think their front seven is going to be too much for Iowa State's offensive line. I think the running game is going to get going, and I don't think we'll see the same Mark Gronowski that we saw last week. I just they were far too high on Mark Gronowski for that to be the norm. I don't think that's going to stick.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agreed.
And if it does, he's going to run around like crazy. So. All right, let's get to Illinois at Duke. Illinois favored in this one by 2.5, over under of 50.5 in this game. This is an early playoff type of game here. Duke, Illinois has been widely thought of as a team that can make the playoffs this season. Duke kind of in that range as well, thought of there. Won 9 games last year. Maybe they get back to doing that. A lot of people think they upgraded from Malik Murphy to Darian Mensah with their quarterback position. I think, you look at the box score. Like I saw somebody had Darian Mensah in like their top 10 of Heisman finalists. I don't know how you watch that game against Elon and think that, because Darian Mensah was kind of like garbage time hero in that game. You look at the actual beginning of the game. I guess if you give credit to garbage time that much, sure, but I don't think you should. So really interesting situation here. I have a few thoughts on key matchups and stuff like that, but we'll get your thoughts first. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting how analytics look at this. Like, analytics almost have this game dead even. Duke is, I think, favored in terms of like FPI, which we all know how I feel about FPI. But I'm interested to see the Sagarin numbers too. I have a hard time believing that Mensah and his receivers do well against this secondary. Quite honestly. Like,
I don't think Mensah's seen a secondary as good as this Illinois secondary in his entire career.
No, and I think that I've seen people say like Duke's going to tear Illinois up, and I'm like this secondary did a good job against South Carolina last year, right? And I know like they're not as well known for their passing, but like Lenore Sellers is better than Mensah. Like, at
least from a playmaking perspective, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Mensah's still good at playmaking too. I should. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Probably my biggest concern in this game for Illinois is how are they at actually establishing the run? That's my big question for them is, can they establish the run against a decent opponent? Because I'm a little concerned. I was a little concerned after what they did against Western Michigan, because it did not look as good.
Illinois? They played Western Illinois.
Yes. Didn't I say Western Illinois?
No, you said Western Michigan. You're still on Michigan State.
Western Illinois.
Yeah,
yes,
no,
sorry.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. No, I think the running game is going to be huge in this one as well. I'm actually really high on the running game in this one. I think Aidan Lafrey is going to have, or Laftery, how to pronounce his name. I think he's going to have a really, really good game in this one. Duke had 17 missed tackles against Elon.
Oof.
Zach, 17.
17 against Elon. Oh my gosh.
Yes, this is not a good tackling Duke team, and primarily those came from their starters. This was not like a garbage time. Guys weren't wrapping up, and so these primarily came from their starters. So this is not a good tackling team by Duke, and I don't care who you are. Like, you don't just fix tackling in 1 week. I think the big thought here for a lot of people is going to be Manny Diaz. A few years ago, going up against Luke Aller, he blitzed the heck out of Luke Aller, and Luke Aller did not respond well to it in his first year starting. That was also Luke Aller's first year starting at Illinois. That was also a team in Illinois that was not. I mean, I think it was the year Burt came off of winning 8 or 9 games, and they were reloading a little bit that year. So I'm really, really excited to see Luke Altmaier kind of get his get back against Manny Diaz in this one. I think Manny Diaz is a good coach. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they have the same level of experience and some of the same type of players that Illinois has. Duke spent a lot on their roster. Don't get me wrong. They went out and they got good players. I just think they have deficiencies in areas. They have a young left tackle that I think Gabe Yakus and James Thompson are going to go up well against. I think with the struggling of their tackling, I don't super believe in their secondary. I'm not saying their secondary is bad, but I look at all this and I say Luke Aller. Sorry, Philip. Luke Altmaier. I'm getting Penn State and Illinois mixed up here. So Zach got Western Illinois and Western Michigan mixed up. I got Luke Aller and Luke Altmaier mixed up. But the point remains. I think that there are a lot of thoughts here going to be Manny Diaz blitzed the heck out of Luke Altmaier a few years ago. He's going to blitz it out of him again. This is not the same Illinois offensive line, and this Illinois offensive line, I think Burt is really going to lean on the run game in this one. Not because he doesn't believe in Luke Altmaier, but I think he's just really going to slow this one down, beat up this Duke team. He probably saw on tape the bad tackling like everybody else did and said, yeah, we can run on this team. We can block these guys up front, and I believe in Lowry, Fagan, all these guys. They're going to have a good game running against them, and I think Illinois runs for a good amount of yards in this game and takes it away.
Yeah, I think I agree. I feel like the Duke hype is just over. I think it's just overhyped. Like, I think they have some decent players. I think Vincent Anthony on the defensive line is a good pass rusher. But again, I do like Illinois' offensive line quite a bit more. I like the experience. And I don't see a playmaker on Duke's offense that makes me think that Illinois is going to have a tough time slowing them down. One thing that's interesting about the game against Elon is that game was evenly matched throughout the entire first half. Now, Duke pulled away in the second half because of adjustments, and I think because talent took over. But, I mean, Elon was with them step for step for the entire first half. And it wasn't until that second half, and really they put it away on a punt return. So I don't know. I'm skeptical of Duke's goodness. And I think Illinois is better. Like, I don't understand why people think that Duke is this really, really good team. I don't think they are.
It's Manny Diaz. Manny Diaz, had Luke Altmaier's number a few years ago, and I think that's what a lot of people are pointing to. I don't get why they do so much. I mean, you can look at it and say Manny Diaz loves to blitz, but I mean, Duke did not get pressure without blitzing last game against Elon. That was the only time they got pressure, is when they blitzed.
Yeah.
You are not going to get pressure without blitzing against this Illinois offensive line. They're too good. So, ArcBuck says, when is this game? Noon on ESPN on Saturday. So, you have to have this one on double screen with the Iowa State game there. But yeah, noon on ESPN is when this one is. So, gonna be a fun one to look at. My score prediction, I have Illinois scoring quite a few points in this one because I think they run the ball quite a bit, and I think Luke Altmaier takes advantage of a Duke secondary that's going to be out on islands with them trying to blitz to try to get pressure on Luke Altmaier, and I think Illinois wins this one 31-20.
Good pick. I have 28-13 Illinois.
Yeah, so neither of us all that confident in Duke's offense in this one.
I would like to apologize to the Illini fans if Illinois does lose because I've just jinxed them. I'm sorry.
Don't you know you're never supposed to pick Illinois?
I know, but I think Illinois is going to win.
When you pick against them, they win.
Not always.
Well, I guess not always. Lorenzo came in and said, "Big fan, JR. Definitely no ball." Thank you, Lorenzo. Appreciate you being here. Definitely have some have some people that hear me out on the Illinois fan base, and you're one of my favorite fan bases out there. So thank you, Illinois fans. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know what to expect with Duke. I think Duke's going to get wins in the ACC this year. I don't see them getting Illinois in this one. I think probably the best way for Duke to get Illinois in this one is if Illinois' defense is probably just like if they lose contain on Darian Mensah and he really makes some plays with his feet or something like that, gets outside of the pocket, they lose contain, the receiver. Because it's hard to play man coverage for much more than 4 seconds. So you really have to play contain well, get to the quarterback. I think they're going to be able to do that this game. But there could be some times when maybe they lose contain a little bit on Darian Mensah and he makes some things happen with his legs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where the bulk of the offense is going to come.
Yeah. So, all right, last one. We got to get Zach out of here. Zach needs to go to bed.
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
It's okay. I'm messing with you. Michigan at Oklahoma. Oklahoma on FanDuel is favored by 5.5. Over under at 45.5 points here. Zach, this is one that I picked Oklahoma to win in the offseason. Saw Michigan play against New Mexico. Liked what I saw. Saw Oklahoma play against Illinois State. Did not like what I saw. I can't help but think this is standard SEC overhype for a team. Oklahoma was not good last year. John Mateer, he came in with his offensive coordinator in this one, so he does know the offense pretty well, but his timing was not great last week against Illinois State. Nope. I did not love what I saw from him. I did not love what I saw from the run game, and overall, I just did not like what I saw from Mateer and his connections with his receivers. So I got a lot of concerns about John Mateer. Maybe if it was later on this year, maybe they would have some better stuff brewing together, but overall, I mean, I still have concerns about Michigan too. I'll get to those a little bit, but there's a lot of concerns about this Oklahoma team that I think people are just kind of ignoring and pointing out, like the defensive line and stuff like that, that they're going to have to fix before they play Michigan. If this Michigan defense is anything that it was last year, like a lot of people say it is, we'll see. This is an Oklahoma team that probably won't score all that many points. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the Illinois State game that Oklahoma played, I think concerns for Oklahoma is that they didn't run the ball well and they didn't stop the run all that well either, which should concern you if Illinois State didn't throw well, right? But at one point, I think they were allowing 6.3 yards per carry. Now, I think that shifted as the game went on. I had the stats up earlier, but it was not, they were allowing quite a bit per clip in the run game to a bad Illinois State team. What does Michigan love to do? They love to run the ball. Like Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes, like that duo is going to be very hard for them to stop come Saturday. And I don't love that matchup for Oklahoma, if I'm honest. And I think in some ways Michigan is going to do it. I think in a lot of ways what Ohio State did last week, which is they're going to protect their young quarterback and they're going to let their running backs eat. And I think Oklahoma is going to try to allow Mateer to be a playmaker. And I just don't love that matchup because I think Mateer's timing is off. I don't think he's as good as people think. Like, I think some people were saying Mateer for Heisman. I'm like, I don't know what you're watching, man. He's not Cam Ward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was anywhere close to the best transfer quarterback in the portal. I had a good conversation with the guys from Out of the Blue, one of the best Michigan podcasts you can find out there. And we were in agreement that we all loved Fernando Mendoza better than Mateer out of the portal. And I don't see the hype for Mateer, quite honestly. Like, I think he's good. I think he's a good dual threat, but I still think his timing is off, as you mentioned. And I think if it's just Mateer and they're not able to run the ball well, I think that is advantage Michigan all day. And the main advantage that I think that Oklahoma has in this game is home field advantage. And if you can run the football and take the air out of the ball, I think you start to lose that advantage. So I just think a lot of the things that make me think Oklahoma would be the better team aren't there. Like better line play, better run game. I think all belongs better coaching, if I'm honest. I think all go in the way of Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma's not going to be able to run the ball. They weren't able to run the ball. They weren't able to pass or to run block against Illinois State. I know that I had some questions about if the Michigan defensive line is going to be as good as they were last year. That's a very, very high bar. I'm not down on the Michigan defensive line at all. But this is not Illinois State with their run defense or anything like that. Oklahoma is going to have to pass the ball a lot in this game. John Mateer is going to have to make a whole lot of plays, which he can do. He's a playmaker. He has his leg. You know, he's going to be able to use his legs and stuff like that. But as long as Michigan plays disciplined, they should be fine in this one. I am curious your thoughts on Barham and him being out in the first half. We didn't really talk about that call when we were doing our recaps and stuff like that, but just a terrible call. I mean, targeting is awful right now in college football. Nothing's consistent. The rule is not written very well, and unfortunately, it did meet the rule requirements, which is again one of the issues that the rule is not written very well. But they're going to be without Jayshon Barham. I think they have a very deep linebacker room, so I'm not too concerned about it, especially with him coming back in the second half. But curious your thoughts, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a blow, but you just said it. I think their depth is really, really good. And I think that's actually one of the trademarks of Michigan's team is, yes, they have stars on defense, but really I think you saw it against Alabama in the bowl game last year. Next man up.
Yeah.
I think
totally.
that's their calling card. And so I think if anyone's sitting there, like Michigan doesn't feel sorry for themselves. Yes, they'll appeal it because that's what Michigan tends to do.
They already appealed it and then they didn't get it. The Big Ten backed them, but they didn't get it.
Yeah. So they appealed it. But like, I think people are taking that and they're now taking shots at Michigan. I'm like, any program worth their salt would challenge that and appeal it. So but now that it's done, I don't think they're concerned about which linebackers are out on the field. I think they trust their guys. I think Hausman is still there. I think you have other linebackers in that room who can do damage. I still love that defensive line. Again, they're not who they were, right? They're not Mason Graham. They're not Kenneth Grant, but you still got Rayshon Benny. Like this is a really good defensive line. And they're not just a good defensive line. They are a disciplined defensive line. You've seen that over the years. They're not going to get burned by quarterback run. They're not going to get burned by some of the scrambling. They're going to have contain. They'll play a spy. I don't love the matchup for Oklahoma, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup. I do think that there are some concerns with Michigan here.
Yes.
You know, I think we're showing a lot of favor for Michigan, but you still have a young freshman quarterback. You're going to Oklahoma. That he just turned 18 not too long ago. It's not like he's like an older freshman or something like that. So there are potential issues there. Pass protection for Michigan has been a question that we've had, and honestly, it was a question in the New Mexico game as well. I mean, it was not the best pass protection in the world, unfortunately. I wouldn't say it was bad, but against New Mexico, I think they probably should have been better. And Bryce Underwood was also leaving the pocket a little bit early, and he was throwing across his body quite a bit. You can get away with that against New Mexico with the supreme talent that Bryce Underwood has. He's one of the greatest talents in college football right now. When you look at the talent he has currently and his age and everything else, but this is a situation where I know Oklahoma, I'm not super high on them, but they still have SEC level talent. These are not guys that are just going to let you throw over the middle across your body with ease. So I do have concerns about that. I do think that you're going to see a freshman mistake at some point from Bryce Underwood in this one. To me, it's about, can Michigan stop Moneyline Mateer from having those playmaker plays that really kind of keep the offense going when it shouldn't be because they shut down the team? Can they get to the quarterback well enough and just completely shut him down? And can the receivers take advantage of opportunity, or could the cornerbacks take advantage of opportunities where the receivers or something like that miss for Oklahoma? It's going to be an interesting game. I have Michigan winning this one. My prediction is 20-13. Michigan wins. I don't think that means Bryce Underwood has a bad game. I just think that this means Michigan is going to be willing to slow everything down. Oklahoma is going to try to run the ball. They're probably not going to be too successful, and I think you might see Moneyline Mateer, running it a little bit as well, but they're not going to be able to keep the chains moving like that. And I think you'll find some issues with Oklahoma. So Michigan 20, Oklahoma 13.
Good pick. A couple more thoughts. One, the backup linebackers, at least according to the depth chart I'm looking at, maybe it's changed since then, but it does seem like two of the main backups for Jay Sean Barham are senior linebackers. So guys that have been there, guys that know that program, know that system. So I think that's a good thing, right?
You have Rolder and
Hood.
Yeah, Hood. You wouldn't be surprised if Troy Bowles got some time too, but I don't think he's going to get as much as those other two.
Yeah. So like you have seniors. I think you have good players in that secondary as well. The other thing that I would just bring up, Underwood did not run a ton against New Mexico. I think that changes in this game. And that's where I think maybe the run game, there's an extra dimension for Michigan that you didn't necessarily see against New Mexico that I think Oklahoma's going to get hit with. I think the MVP of this game, and we haven't talked about special teams at all, Dominic Zavada, one of the best kickers, if not the best kicker in college football. I think he kicks 3 field goals from distance. I think his low scoring, defensive struggle. In a lot of ways, I think this is similar to Ohio State, Texas, right? Michigan knows who they are. They're going to protect their quarterback. They're going to be choosy with their shots. They're going to rely on the run game. They're going to have long drives. And I think they're going to end a lot of drives in field goals. And I think that's going to get it done because I don't think Oklahoma's going to score a ton. So I've got 16-10, 3 field goals and a touchdown for Michigan, and 10 points only for Oklahoma.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Michigan attempt a 60-yarder in this one.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. But, I mean, they say Zavada's been hitting them from 70 yards in practice. I'm always a little skeptical when they say stuff like that. But with Zavada, I wouldn't put it past him.
He's so good.
Well, and every long kick looks like there's no way it's short either. Like every kick, it's like, yeah, this is nowhere near, his maximum range because he continues to just pummel it. But yeah, Zavada, I think he is the best kicker in all of college football.
Yeah.
So, So you mentioned Jaden Hood. He is injured right now, so he won't.
Okay, it won't be
He
him.
won't be playing. Or I guess he was on the injury report for New Mexico. I checked that because I didn't see him with any snaps on PFF. But yeah, probably gonna be Cole Sullivan and Jimmy Rolder and replacing Jay Barham. But we'll see. So I mean, Michigan also has really good safety depth. I wouldn't be surprised if they put somebody like a little bit bigger, like a Mason Curtis or somebody like that. Possibly to make some stuff happen and maybe get down to the box a little bit more, but we'll see. So, all right, that's what we got here for this episode of the Big Ten Huddle. So, Zach, good episode here. You got any final thoughts or anything?
I'm sorry I yawned so much. That's my only thought.
We'll get some caffeine in you next time, okay?
Yes, there we go.
All right, everybody. Hey, we appreciate you listening, watching, doing all that good stuff here at the Big Ten Huddle. We will be live again Thursday night with Big Jeff for his insights into the biggest games of the Big Ten this weekend. Check us out then, and we appreciate it. Have a good one.